I physically can't sit without pain, Malik whispered, eyes cast downward as the frosty glare of MS. Landry, Westbrook Academy's most feared math instructor, bore into him, but to her. His reluctance wasn't about chronic pain, it was defiance. Defiance from a poor black scholarship student who, in her view, had no place standing among the elite. She had made up her mind. Malik Jordan was going to be her example. She chose humiliation over understanding. And when she called him to solve an equation she believed impossibly an academic trap, what unfolded instead would shake the very core of Westbrook Academy and expose everything the institution tried to bury. Malik had grown accustomed to silence. At 16, he'd learned how to survive by being invisible. In MS, Landry's sun-drenched, marble-floored classroom. He stood at the back clutching a textbook so worn its cover was held by tape. He couldn't sit. The pain in his lower spine flared any time he tried. Weeks had passed since he last took a seat in that room. Still, no one believed him, not truly. The other students whispered and snickered. Dressed in custom uniforms, their names etched into plaques across campus buildings. Malik was the outlier. He arrived by bus. He wore hand-me-downs. His only luxury was a mind that could dance with numbers like a pianist across keys. But at Westbrook, that wasn't what mattered. Mr. Jordan, MS. Landry snapped one morning, her voice slicing through the soft hum of privilege. Still too proud to sit with the rest of us? No, ma'am, he murmured. Then take your seat or take your chances elsewhere. He didn't move, and so she kept her promise. She set a trap so elaborate that only a mind forged in quiet brilliance could dismantle it. Later that evening, Malik sat in the dim kitchen of his grandmother's apartment in Parkview Terrace, a neighborhood where police sirens often replaced lullabies. A bag of frozen peas rested on his back as Grandma Rose stirred a pot of rice and beans. She did it again? She asked without turning. It's nothing, Malik said. But it wasn't nothing. 3 months earlier, Landry had forced him into a broken chair as punishment for cheating on a test he had aced without error. She refused to believe he could grasp calculus concepts never taught in her class. The result was a back injury that left him in daily pain. You want me to come up to that school? Rose offered. We can't risk it. Grandma, you remember what happened at Willowbrook? Of course she did. A similar complaint years earlier had nearly cost him his first scholarship. Attitude problems? The principal had said, not fitting the school's culture. Rose had fought back tears then. Malik had stayed quiet. He learned. That night, Malik pulled out his prized possession, a battered copy of Advanced Theoretical Mathematics, rescued from a library discard pile. He flipped past annotations, margin notes, and solved problems that danced across the pages like art. Numbers didn't judge him. They didn't care about skin color or income level. They were fair. He didn't know it yet. But fairness was about to get its first real test. The next morning, Westbrook's cobblestone courtyard shimmered under the early sun. Students exited luxury cars with leather satchels and fresh croissants in hand. Malik arrived by foot, his shoes still damp from the bus stop puddle. He nodded to Zach and Gwen, one of the few students who acknowledged him, and resumed his place at the back of the class. MS. Landry entered moments later, poised like a statue of control. We have a guest, she announced. Principal Whitaker will be observing. As the tall, besuited man settled in the corner, he noticed Malik standing. Is there a reason that student isn't seated? He asked. I've addressed it before. Landry replied curtly. Mr. Jordan prefers to stand. I have chronic pain, sir, Malik said, barely audible. A doctor's note? Whitaker asked. He submitted one. Zach chimed in. I never received such a note. Landry said coolly. The moment passed. Whitaker nodded, unconvinced. And MS. Landry turned back to the board. But her narrowed eyes said it all. She was planning something. It came 2 days later. Rain poured. Malik arrived late, soaked and in pain. Mr. Jordan, Landry said, loud enough for the class to hear. Still standing? Perhaps Westbrook isn't the right place for someone who can't follow rules. When he didn't respond, she passed out a pop quiz. But when she reached him, she didn't hand him one. Instead, she said with a syrupy smile, "I have something more suitable for our nonconformist." She beckoned him forward and, before the class, wrote a graduate-level wave equation on the whiteboard. Partial derivatives, boundary conditions, damping terms. Impossible. By high school standards. Let's see if our genius can solve what MIT students struggle with. Malik looked at the board. He recognized the equation instantly. He had solved versions of it in his spare time. His mind sparked to life. He could fake confusion, or he could solve it. He chose truth. Silence fell. One marker stroke at a time. Malik outlined the approach: separation of variables. Fourier transformations. A refined substitution method of his own invention. Whispers spread like wildfire. Students leaned in. Phones clicked photos. MS. Landry paled. By the time Malik finished, the board was filled with elegant logic. Each step a defiance of the expectations placed upon him. This satisfies all given conditions, he said simply. MS. Landry sputtered. Where did you copy this from? I didn't. Malik replied calmly. Impossible. She snapped. Bradley Carter, heir to a banking dynasty, raised his hand. That's the same method my uncle published in the Mathematical Journal. Except, Malik's version's cleaner. Landry was silent. Malik returned to the back of the room. The power dynamics had shifted. By lunch, word had spread. Jordan cracked Landry's trap. He's a prodigy. Teachers stopped by the cafeteria. A student recorded the board. By sixth period, the retaliation began. Principal Whitaker called him in. MS. Landry was waiting. Her concern, Whitaker explained, is that the solution mirrors published graduate work. You're accusing me of cheating? Malik said. A 16-year-old doesn't produce original work like this. Landry said. Whitaker nodded. Then Mr. Baldwin, the math department head, enter with a professor from the nearby university. I reviewed Malik's work. The professor said, it's not copied. In fact, he's introduced improvements I plan to share with my graduate students. Landry's face froze. The conversation shifted. Whitaker leaned back. Silent. Baldwin spoke of mentorship. The professor offered campus visits. Malik sat quietly, barely breathing. But it wasn't over. A full inquiry followed. Malik's grandmother was invited to the school board. Landry was suspended pending investigation, then fired. Discrepancies in her grading surfaced. Students of color marked harshly. Comments about attitude. Students who had transferred out. Malik wasn't the first. He was just the one who refused to stay quiet. Soon after, Westbrook launched an overhaul of its academic policies. Implicit bias training. Anonymous grading. A new position: Director of Inclusive Excellence, was created. Mr. Baldwin took the role. Malik was offered a hybrid enrollment program, half his week at Westbrook, the other half in university math lectures. His solution to Landry's wave equation became a co-authored paper, published months later. 6 months passed. Malik stood before the student body delivering Westbrook's inaugural Excellence in Mathematics lecture. Mathematics is universal, he said, but opportunity isn't. I was almost silenced before I had the chance to speak. Applause filled the room. His grandmother wiped away tears. A young girl approached him afterward. I love math, she whispered, but I don't think I'm allowed to be good at it here. You are, Malik said, handing her a flyer for his Thursday study group. And I'll prove it to you. Later that evening, walking home with Grandma Rose, Malik looked up at the twilight sky. For the first time in his life, he wasn't calculating how to survive. He was calculating how to build. He turned to her. I want to teach, not just do math. I want to be the teacher I never had. She smiled, proud and soft. Then show them how it's done. And he would. Because Malik Jordan had already solved the hardest equation of his life and rewritten the formula for how brilliance gets seen.